All right, welcome back. This is day 11 of 30 of recording a video every day here for YouTube. Today we're back on the OpenAI train. So there's just a post posted by Sam Altman. He announced that 80% drop to ChatGPT 5.6 Luna. For those that don't know, Luna is one of their cheaper, or what they would call cost-sensitive models. They have Luna, then it goes up to Terra, which is the middle model, and then Sol. And Luna, being their kind of lower level model, is actually really, really good. It competes directly with 5.5. It scores really good on the intelligence scale, and it's one of their kind of like flagship models, which is crazy that they reduced this specific model's cost by 80%. And I think for the majority of people, they should be leveraging Luna at these reduced rates, or they're making a mistake, right? I think the majority of people don't know that there's these different options, and they probably don't even know, and maybe because ChatGPT kind of quietly did it, reduce the price of this model specifically. Interestingly enough, if you look at the tweet, they did not reduce the price of Sol, which is their flagship model. They did provide some efficiencies as far as fast mode, so you get 2.5 the speed at 2x the price. So it is still expensive, but it's maybe a little bit better. Which, I mean, if you're paying that much money for a frontier model, I would expect some improvement over time, right? So I'm sure that their deficiencies that they implemented and they announced in the press releases also improved Sol, but they just didn't reduce the price. So here's a couple articles. I'll link them down if you want to get into the technical component of it. But here's essentially how they were able to make the frontier models more efficient. And then here's the actual post the next day or today saying, and they're now cheaper, which is great. Good PR back to back from OpenAI on these two announcements. So if we go back to the X post here, it talks about how it's now cheaper. And if we look downside on kind of the full announcement, they also say that making advanced intelligence more abundant and affordable is a central mission statement. Here it is. They're also upgrading the auto review in ChatGPT app and Codex CLI from 5.4 to 5.6 Luna. So they're using the own model to make improvements on that. Combine that with the pricing, and they essentially expect the auto review to cost about 10x less, making your agentic workflows more cost efficient. So like a double whammy. Sol is cheaper. Luna is cheaper, and they're now using Luna to make the auto review component even better, making your overall workflow even cheaper. So why is this happening? That's the big question for most people. They don't understand why a company as beloved and cherished, sarcasm, as OpenAI is intentionally reducing their price. Obviously, they've felt some pressure from Mythos and Opus 5, but not really. I think the pressure is really coming from these new frontier models. Kimi K3 being released this month is putting a huge amount of pressure on these frontier monopolies that exist right now. The fact that Kimi K3, being an open weight model, is able to compete directly with Sol and Opus and Fable, and in some benchmarks even beat it outright, is pretty wild. Specifically because on all the charting platforms, Kimi K3 is cheaper than all these models. So there's going to be a real question from the CEOs, the CFOs of this world saying, why are we paying so damn much for these frontier enterprise subscription packages when we can host our own, when we can build our own infrastructure, when we can run our own systems with these Chinese models, especially if they're scoring so well. So I think this is the true pressure. There's also pressure of the rumor GLM 5.5 release. It is GLM 5.2 is great already on its own. It's crushing a bunch of benchmarks, and it's running incredibly cheap. And we just saw a real life example on a few videos ago where OpenAI new 5.6 pre-release model actually hacked Hugging Face, and the frontier models out there did not help. GLM came in and was able to do all the forensic work in hours, which would have normally taken days. They weren't actually able to leverage the frontier models because of the the actual restrictions that were in place in terms of security and all that stuff. So yeah, GLM has good press coming, and good press in the future probably coming once it releases as well. So yeah, I'll post all these articles and links all down below. I wanted to share these charts with you so you kind of get an idea of how big this reduction in cost is for ChatGPT. If you look down here on the intelligence score, you see all the heavyweights, right? The expensive models, the Opus, the Fable, the 5.6 Soul, and now if you look for Luna, you'll see that it is. I just saw it right here. So it's scoring right between Sonnet and GLM, which is a really good spot to be in. I mean, this 51 score is nothing to be shy about. It's a really good score, especially if it's really good and really cheap, which we will see down here. This is the cost per intelligence index task, a good way to kind of gauge what you're spending versus what you're getting on intelligence terms. If you look over ChatGPT Luna here, it's roughly averaging about 6 cents, which competes directly with the Golden Child, DeepSeek, as well as like Minimax and Haiku. So it's on the same kind of side of the graph that it should be for this cost reduction, which I think is just awesome. And then obviously as you start getting up to these more expensive frontier models, you start looking at the costs just be outrageous very quickly. I mean, this is 6 cents. Fable is 2.7 cents, right? So this is just a crazy cost difference. And again, like I said, the majority of people can get away with Luna just fine. If you look at the sweet spot graph here, you really want to be in this green box for kind of bang for your buck. And ChatGPT 5.6 Luna sits right there at a nice little sweet spot, competing again directly with GLM, even Grok, Minimax, DeepSeek. And then this, I think, in my opinion, is where most people should be looking on their kind of day-to-day, more advanced tasks, but nothing that requires the most effort, the most complexity, the most reasoning. For that, you will need to move to the top right of the screen. But I do generally think that most people can get away with using Luna right now. So when is it appropriate? Well, I think the reason they did not reduce the cost of Sol and they did Luna and Terra is because most of their money is coming from these large frontier flagship max effort models. As someone that works in enterprise, very rarely do I intentionally switch my models to be more efficient cost-wise. If I'm doing a bunch of scraping and things like that require just kind of fast processing, very little reasoning, I will, if I remember to do so. But for the majority, I'm running on the frontier model at full tilt, right? Just going crazy. In my personal life, where I'm paying for my own tokens, I do adjust my models quite frequently. There's a big kind of revolution with mixture of models and being able to kind of choose a model for your tasks, especially when you're dealing with like Hermes or OpenClaw and you're using kind of aggregators. You really want to be able to choose your task with the right model so you don't burn tokens unnecessarily. If I'm doing some heavy lifting coding that requires some analysis of repos and really kind of helping fix a bug or something that's very complex, I will gladly pay for tokens for Opus or for OpenAI Sol. However, if I'm just organizing my files or updating a work log or updating my Obsidian directory, I am not going to spend $5 per million context tokens. I'm just not. For that, I will either use local hardware that I have running Minimax or something like a Quen 3.6 that I can just potentially pay nothing for, or if I need just a slightly more edge, dip into K3 or GLM in order to get that extra bump, and they're very cheap, right? I can do a few hours worth of work and only pay a few dollars, and in my opinion, that's worth it, right? I'm not paying a subscription service. I'm not trusting my data, trusting with my most private data. It's just things I need done quickly in a very programmatic and maybe a little bit complex method. So yeah, I think for the majority of people using AI currently, Luna is a great deal right now. And I hate saying it because we just did a 3-part series on OpenAI, how they essentially did not contain their model. It escaped the sandbox. It hacked Hugging Face. After it hacked Hugging Face, the CEO came out and the president came out and said, sorry, not sorry, and kind of treated it as a press release. And then immediately Congress tried to pass a stop AI bill, or sorry, provide a kill switch for AI bill. So, do I agree with the company's philosophy, methodologies, the way they've done work? No. Do I agree with Anthropic's way? No. Do I think some of these CEOs are just kind of wild and these founders have different ideas than most people in the world? Yeah. But is Luna being 80% cheaper a net positive for the AI community? I would say yes. I say more people should adopt the cheaper pricing and run it when it's applicable. Obviously, I prefer most people host their own models and work locally so that we don't give any money to these larger companies. But I think as more frontier models, more OpenAI models come in and they compete with each other, the price of these frontier models will come down, and the adoption of these open weight models that are coming out, which seems now like monthly, and that demand will continue to increase, and we'll have true competition. We will no longer have this monopoly on what's considered the best and greatest. And I think the ability for people to choose what works for them will be the true power of AI in the future. So yeah, check out your models in your Hermes, OpenClaws, or subscription services, token services, whatever you're using, and check out Luna. So if you don't know it's cheaper, now you know. Give it a try. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I will do all the subscribe, like, and share video stuff, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Thanks for watching.